If your brand vanished tomorrow, would anyone actually notice, or would your audience just follow someone flashier with better Canva template? Let's face it, guys, the way you show up is just as important as what you sell. Now, I have a question. It's going to sound kind of crazy, but are you a basketball fan? I used to love March Madness. I'm originally from Chapel Hill, so go Tar Heels. And as I thought about the topic that we're talking about today, I couldn't help but compare the concept of March Madness with the leadership and strategy concept of a method to your madness. Okay, so let me just go through March Madness really quickly so you understand why I think these two topics are related. So March Madness is basically a single elimination tournament. Now, there are tons of teams, but the teams are ranked from 1 to 16 in several different regions. Now, why this is a big deal is because the brackets are actually determined by the NCAA selection committee, and they are ranked based on performance and a few other factors. Now, what if I told you your prospects are doing the very same thing, or at least something very similar, and there are some questions that you're answering, whether you know it or not, that determine where you rank? All right, in today's video, we are digging into the 3 V's that separate forgettable brands from the ones that turn heads and attract loyal fans. Let's dive into it. Okay, so when it comes to these questions that you're answering, whether you know it or not, I have 3 of them for you, and write them down because you need to answer these questions, have a plan to answer these questions, a method to your madness. And the very first one is, how do you want to be seen? Now here, this is important for your customer's experience. This is a huge factor in your ranking. You're showcasing your value here, okay? So this is going to be determined, your value, we talk about this all the time, is really determined by your own self-awareness and the use of things like systems and how you create consistency around the way you show up. Now, these systems, this consistency is going to be what creates this recognition when you are out in the wild, whether it's digitally, whether it's at networking events, whatever it is, you will begin to be recognizable from your consistency and from the value that you're bringing to the table. Now, I recommend understanding what your value is from a self-awareness perspective and not trying to identify your value based on what people say about you, because you have to know what it is you do well and how it is different from what other people are doing, because you are being evaluated, not your service, because I guarantee you, you're not the only one that's doing what you're doing. So you want to have self-awareness. You want to understand what you are bringing to the table, how it fits into the lives of your audience so that you can show up with that value consistently, having created systems and processes that help shed or show you in a bright, positive light to your ideal audience so that you are recognized. And then also next, once you've identified what your value is internally, how you want to, distribute that value, now you have a customer experience that will start to foster a reputation. People will begin to talk about how amazing it is to work with you, how awesome your services are or your products are based on the experience they had. So how do you want to be seen? What value is it that you're bringing to the table? Now, if you're not doing this correctly, you could have when you're recognized, it may not be in a positive way, or your reputation with your ideal audience may not be a positive reputation. So that's why it's important for you to know what your lane is and be able to stay in your lane confidently and delegate anything that's not in your lane. All right. Now, the next question that you're answering, and you may not know that you're answering it, is what you want to be known for. And this is your visibility or your brand's exposure. How are you exposing your value, your business to your ideal audience? In order for you to do this in a positive way, it's important for you to understand who your ideal audience is. Okay. I tell my clients all the time, you cannot be a small fish in a big pond, right? Because there's too many other people like you. You want to be a big fish in a small pond, which means you need to understand who your ideal audience is, what it is they're looking for, where they're going to find that information, and then also how you relate to them. So how are you going to share your value with them so that it resonates with them, so that they're attracted to you and you are a big fish in a small pond? So here, when you determine how or what it is you want to be known for, then you want to share that. You want to be visible in that way, being that big fish in a small pond, because you know who your ideal audience is. You're not trying to capture everybody. You're just trying to capture the ones that need what you have the way you are sharing it. And then you have to, again, know what that value actually is. So you have to understand what your value proposition is. Now, the next question that I think you may be answering and not know you're answering it is, where is your connectability or your connection or relatability to your ideal audience? This is where your voice is important. It is going to be amplified via your brand narrative, what you're saying, the stories you're telling, the social proof you're giving. And this is going to improve your likability and it's going to build trust with your ideal audience. So here I always share with my customers to determine what your epiphany journey is. Now, you may have solved a problem for yourself, or maybe you have been very successful in solving the problem for other people. And therefore you have probably some steps that you took to get from problem to solution. That is your epiphany journey. I suggest here, if you want to be relatable, if you want to connect to your audience, identify how this epiphany journey relates to their problem or their challenge. So when you are talking to them through your narrative, your brand narrative, the stories you tell about your business, the social proof you choose to share at networking events, you are able to, when you're doing one-on-ones with people and you are sharing social proof with them, you are able to meet them where they are, because in that conversation, you can recognize where they are in your journey and you can start the conversation there. And that makes them feel like they are heard. It makes them feel like you understand their problem. And it makes them feel like you may be the best person to help them solve the problem. So here, your epiphany journey becomes the guide for whatever communication you're going to have. And you're able to better understand the challenge that your ideal audience is facing and better able to connect your solution with their challenge and again, meet them where they are. And this again is going to foster that trust and it's going to build relationships, which we all know is so very important when it comes to referrals and repeat business, right? It's also how you're going to differentiate yourself from your competition and garner those partnerships that are going to be serving a similar audience. When you showcase yourself in a light, you could be doing exactly what someone else is doing, but because you have been able to create a brand narrative based on your solution and the epiphany journey that you have, and you're meeting people where they are, you're differentiating yourself from the other person that does exactly what you do. Because again, I've said this before, I'll say it again, over and over again, you are as unique as a fingerprint. No one has the exact same combination of influence, experience, perspective, and passion. All right, so there it is. That is how March Madness and the method to your madness are related. I just thought that worked so well because you are actually being ranked by your ideal audience. They are looking at you and other people in your space doing the exact same thing, trying to make the determination about who is better for them. And you want to be number one on that list. You want to have a number one ranking. So these questions about your visibility, value, and voice are questions that you may already be answering, but answering wrong. So I suggest that you take a look at some of these questions, go back and answer them for yourself, and then start showing up in that way with the right voice, the right value, the right visibility for your ideal audience. Okay, listen. That might be difficult for you. I get it. That is why I created Project CEO. Project CEO is my signature program where I walk you through exactly what you need to find that confidence, to understand how your value proposition works with your ideal audience, and then to stand on that and begin leveraging who you are to get the things that you want. Now, if you're not quite ready for that, I will also link down below my Authentic Leadership Masterclass, which is absolutely free, and it does give you some help in identifying that foundation that you need to lead more effectively and efficiently, set the appropriate boundaries, manage expectations, and teach people how to treat you. So I'll link both of those below. But for now, guys, March Madness is a ways away, but your ability to create a method to your madness is right here in this video. Make sure you're answering these questions and you're answering them with intention and purpose so that your ideal audience will know exactly what they're getting and they will put you in the number one slot. All right, so now that you understand the method to your madness and how it relates to March Madness, this next video I think is going to be very helpful because I am sharing my 5 tips that I use to help my dreams come true. And I think that you too can use them to make your dreams come true and create that method to your madness. So make sure that you click the link down below. Now, if you've not already and you've been here, please hit that subscribe button. I am on a mission to monetize this channel, but I need you to not only subscribe, I also need you to hit that notification bell. And I also need you to watch the videos when they come because that watch time is key, sis. That is important. And some of y'all are showing up and not subscribed. So make sure you're doing that. I'll see you again next week. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.